Welcome to the second episode of The Law Street, presented by Legal League Consulting, management consultants to the global legal industry in association with ET Now. Globalization is quickly changing the world. The Indian legal industry, too, is witnessing the change, with several law practices experiencing a restructuring. In the second episode of The Law Street, we will be focusing on the emergence of fast-growing law practices and law firms. We will be interviewing some of the successful young managing partners and founders who have made a mark while competing with the top-tier full-service firms. Naik Company is a full-service law firm with a specialization in the technology, telecommunications, and media space. We spoke to founding and managing partner Ameet, who has structured investment and production deals for more than 200 films in India. He gave us an overview of the unique rewards and challenges that come with representing Bollywood's who's who. Naik Company was established in 2004 with just 2 partners and 4 associates with a keen focus on media and entertainment. Today, the firm comprises 35 lawyers across 4 offices in India, providing result-oriented and cost-effective advice to clients with a minimum turnaround time. An initial question for you. You started the firm in 2004. 2 lawyers, 4 associates in the media and entertainment sector, which was arguably an emerging business sector at the time. Did you consciously perceive it as a first mover advantage, or was that just what you knew?
Well, that's what I knew, and that's the inkling that I had. Because that was the time that I'd compiled the first FICCI report on media and entertainment. So I knew it was an emerging sector. Philosophically, I always thought that you should do a sector where it's an untapped sector. Also, there was no discipline in that sector. Off-balance sheet funding was moving to balance sheet funding. And therefore, I thought really that this is where I could make an entry. And it doesn't matter, because I thought that the more industry focus that you have, then the service lines will just follow. And that's exactly what we did. We got in at the right time. We were blessed, and we got in at the curve when the media industry was picking up, where you started seeing a 5-page document moving to a 30-page document.
Sure.
So that was the evolution, and I was very sort of fortunate that we were a part of that process. So if you see a lot of the documentation in that business, I think we've been quite instrumental and pioneered most of the documentation that you see.
Phenomenal. Now, times have clearly changed, and so has the firm. You are a full-service law firm now. How much of that growth was organic versus strategized?
Well, I can say that all the partners who are here in the firm have grown in the firm the last 12 years. So it's completely organic. It's not that we don't have lateral recruitments. We do, and we welcome that. But the idea is that we encourage entrepreneurship. So it's very important for us to have partners grow in the firm and partake in the equity of the firm. The success of this firm is because of all the 5 partners that we've all stuck to each other in the last 12 years. And I owe it to the entire partnership where we are today.
There's a lot of collaboration, international collaboration, particularly in the media and entertainment space.
Yes.
And with the sort of impending opening of the Indian legal space, the liberalization of it, how do you think that equation will change?
Well, I think foreign law firms are going to come. We welcome them, and they're here to stay. I think the fact that foreign law firms are institutional, and they've been for over 100 years, it's a welcome situation in India. Indian law firms are not as institutional as foreign law firms because they've had a larger history of doing it. So I think it's a very welcome situation as far as the legal scenario is concerned. In your context of the media and entertainment crossover, the foreign studios are here. So we represent 3/4 of them, and they've really brought a lot of discipline into the business. So I think crossover in any section, whether it's retail, real estate, is only going to help. And it's a global world, and it's a global village in that sense. So you must welcome foreign law firms as well.
You're a 4th-generation lawyer, so you know the value of a succession plan, right? So is there a succession plan in place here at Naik Co?
Meritocracy, hard work is the only thing that will have as part of the succession plan. I don't think bloodline is going to determine what succession planning is going to be about.
Now, I want to demystify entertainment law for a second. People think of entertainment law and they say you represent high-end clients, but let's break it down a bit. So there's this intellectual property as one component, structured financing as another component, bringing in sort of licensing deals from abroad to this country, right? It's very involved. So can you give us an example of what all you do and perhaps what you don't do?
Well, when I started doing media and entertainment, my dad thought that probably I'm going to run after some actresses. But that was not what it was. It's not as entertaining as you think it is. It's quite intellectual. And what is it that we do? We were the first guys who started doing work for foreign studios, amongst the many people who were doing it. We were able to do and sort of make documents, because the American way of making documents is 100, 200 pages.
Right.
We were able to synthesize that and bring that down to a 40-page. So we were able to marry the West and the East and still come into the sector, because you have to be relevant to the Indian sector, which is Bollywood also. We are the guys who did format license. So if you see 24, if you see most of the Indian formats, the international formats which are being licensed, we've been at the top end. We negotiated the 24 deal. We're negotiating some of the top formats which are there in existence, which I can't talk of now. So we've been blessed with that.
How much of this client base of yours has been organic, referral based, etc., versus sort of a conscious underlying marketing initiative? Walk us through that.
All the work is word of mouth, and the work follows the worker. And that's the philosophy. Yes, because you do celebrity work, you are in the limelight. We've acted for some of the top actors and top talent, and we continue to represent them. But let me tell you that the amount of discipline that the industry has, and that sector is just like any other sector. It's not very different from the financial sector. It's not very different from the retail sector or the real estate sector. You have to be a good businessman to be a good corporate, commercial, full-service lawyer. And I think that's the mantra.
Lovely. Well, thank you for sharing your insights with us. Very valuable indeed.
Thank you.
With over 200 filings in various judicial fora, it's hard to believe that Veritas Legal is just 18 months old. Managing partner Abhijit Joshi shared his perspective on the exhilaration that accompanies building and growing a practice. With the specialization in joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions, private equity investments, and corporate restructuring, Veritas Legal has established itself as a burgeoning boutique. Championing cross-border investments, both inbound and outbound, the firm has played its part in facilitating the ease of doing business domestically. 15 years at AZB & Partners, and then the senior partner and CEO leaves to start a firm of his own. Clearly a brave decision. What was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, I've heard that phrase brave in the past, but I think it's more out of, I've always enjoyed the construction or the growing phase of the firm. So I started with Amachan Mangaldas. We were around 4 or 5 people at that point of time. Started with AZB, of course, with a different name at that point of time. We were around 15, 17 people. And these organizations have grown to be much larger. But if I reflect in the journey, the most enjoyable parts were when we were growing up. And I guess this is once again in that sense. So I guess destinations are good, but journeys are more important.
But let's talk more about that journey and that growing up, as you put it. So Veritas Legal has been in existence for 17 months. And in that short period of time, you've grown from 2 to 28 lawyers. You've completed nearly 30 M&A and private equity transactions. Was this growth anticipated, or have you grown faster than you'd like?
So everything is not by design. A lot in life is by default. So I guess yes, the answer to your direct answer to your question is yes, we've grown faster than we would have liked. God has been kind, but you don't confuse a genius with a bull market. This is a bull market, and therefore, you know, one of the principles of entrepreneurship, as they say, is that if you have to take risks, you should take it in emerging markets, but because the sheer velocity will pull you up.
Well, in a lot of legal circles, a buzzword we keep hearing is liberalization and how it's made the legal landscape evolve. Can you take a deeper dive on that and share your views?
So, liberalization, if I were to put it plainly, opening up of the sector for foreign firms, well, my views are that I think in the best in class, whether it's foreign firm or Indian firm, should be allowed to prevail. If the country is growing at 6, 7, 8, 9%, the centers of excellence, wherever they are in the world, should be available to the Indian industry.
So as a first generation lawyer, how do you go about thinking of a succession plan? What's your approach essentially? And we've certainly made note of the fact that Veritas Legal does not include your first name or your last name. A bit unconventional, very refreshing. So your thoughts on next steps?
Yeah, I didn't want to use my name, that's one. Goodwill belongs to the firm, that's second. Third, I think there is a larger play than myself. Our business is about talent. I think if there will be crisis in this industry, there largely would be a supply side crisis. Succession planning is actually a more evolved concept than merely not having your name. And I guess that will evolve over a period of time. I certainly can tell you that it's not that everything is in place and I've thought about everything, but the only thing I know is that I don't want to be around forever. So, there is a period of time I've given myself, and hopefully I will get into something else after that, one more construction phase. But that's the evolution of my own journey, and the firm will evolve, and I'm sure there are more than enough people who would be taking the mantle after me.
Sure. And you've made it very clear that you intend to grow Veritas Legal as a boutique law firm. You want to stay nimble. Your rationale behind that decision?
I think the rationale is, first of all, we don't know everything. We knew few practice areas. Our team knows few practice areas, and therefore we would like to concentrate on what we know. In a disruptive market like this, if we try to mean everything to everybody, I don't think that would probably go down very well, because as you know, there are lots and lots of firms and lots of lawyers, and what makes us special, a lot of them are good, and so therefore I think staying closer to fundamentals, especially in a market like that, we thought would be a more sounder approach for going forward.
Well, sir, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you.
It's time for a short break on the Law Street, presented by Legal League Consulting in association with ET Now. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Law Street, presented by Legal League Consulting in association with ET Now. Argus Partners is one of the fastest growing law firms which established a national presence with the merger of two firms. Managing partner Krishnava Dutt spoke to us about the need to institutionalize law firms and bring in professional management capabilities in the fast growing legal industry. What began as a small spin-off in Calcutta, Argus Partners has now blossomed into a full-fledged corporate commercial firm with offices in 5 cities. The firm's growth has included strategic tie-ups with other firms and launching greenfield operations when the market has called for it. So the Indian legal landscape has witnessed, on the one hand, a lot of consolidation, but on the other hand, a lot of fragmentation. How do you see things playing out going forward?
A law firm is an integral part of any corporate of any nation, the corporate landscape of any nation, and in India it's no different. So if you look at the economic growth of the country, and it's still WIP and work in progress, so a law firm and the way the law firm story grows, it's actually very mirroring the economic growth as well. So disruptions, fragmentation, consolidation are par for course. Okay, it just reflects the economic narrative of what our country is going through. Going forward, I don't see it changing at all, at least for the next few years. But what has changed is, personally, I see one, about 5 years back or 10 years back, when we would have fragmentation in terms of small startup law firms. That's probably gone down a bit. We've seen a change of course, the big split and a lot of big movements in law firm. But having said that, the fragmentation and consolidation story probably will continue for some time.
A follow-up question to that. So if I understand you correctly, it's become more of a level playing field. And what role has FDI played in making that possible?
So yes, if I look at the last, again, if I look at the canvas of the last 20 years or 25 years from liberalization, the whole story started with few law firms. Today, I don't know, I really don't have a count of how many law firms are there in the country. In terms of level playing field of FDI, I believe $42 billion have come into India last year in terms of FDI. So when you have $42 billion coming in, I mean, it will percolate down, and the benefit of that will percolate down to even the smaller law firms. So about some time back, when the large FDI deals or FDI deals were done only by the larger law firms primarily, today we have a situation because of just the volume of FDI coming in. It percolates down not only to the mid-level, but even some of the small startup firms. So I actually was doing a transaction where it was a two-member team, and they were part of a transaction where there was a co-investor, and they were representing a co-investor FDI in that. Sure. So of course that does.
And you've witnessed a lot of government policies being implemented, throughout the course of your career that are aimed towards facilitating business in India. What are your thoughts on the ease of doing business in the current climate?
Well, we've been hearing a lot about ease of doing business. So one is the regulatory landscape is obviously a very moving labyrinth. Okay. So, and it's actually aligning to what the new government wants to do, is make in India, ease of doing business in India. At a level in terms of the sound bites are right. At a ground level, I would believe that you can't overnight change systemically. It has to be changed gradually, and it has to be changed very, so in terms of that, I would say in ground level it will come, but yes, it's the right things are happening. You can incorporate a company in one day today, which was unbelievable few years back. So yes, of course, that is happening.
And taking a look at the history of the firm, so you've been a part of a merger with one of the older law firms in the country. Then you had some internal restructuring. So what's the challenge like behind blending people, processes, practices?
So yes, we've been through a merger and a restructuring, but challenges are always. And in a law firm, please understand, it's people. It's people and only people that matter. So therefore, your input, your raw material, everything is people. So integration, not only as a merger, but integration even at a lateral level is an issue. And a firm may have a DNA, and a firm may have its own processes, and comes a new lateral partner, and the integration has to actually got to be both ways. It's not fair for the firm to say that this is my rule book and this is the processes and you've got to follow it. So that challenge will always be there, and that's something which will always be constant, because we're growing in a journey of organic and inorganic, and when we do have inorganic growth, so getting people integrated as a process, it doesn't happen overnight. It has to be bilateral, and it has to be a slow process.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and it was phenomenal to hear about your growth story.
Thank you.
Phoenix Legal is a fast-growing full-service law firm with domestic and international clientele. Co-founder and partner Abhishek Saxena shared his take on what clients ultimately need and want. In his view, it all boils down to commercially viable legal solutions from lawyers that are hands-on and armed with subject matter expertise. Since its inception in 2008, Phoenix Legal has grown to offer a comprehensive range of transactional, regulatory, advisory, and dispute resolution services. The firm's clients include homegrown and foreign companies, banks and financial institutions, promoter groups, and public sector undertakings. So Phoenix Legal is a non-legacy firm, but that said, it's one of the fastest growing firms in the country. So what do you attribute that growth to specifically?
No, I think you're right. I think, so since we set up, we've grown very rapidly, I think, particularly I would say, for the first 6 years of our 8 years of our existence. And I would attribute that to things very simple that I would expect every lawyer to be doing. It's basically just a focus on client. It's a model that is really focused on client service. I think our motto, as we advertise and I think we talk to our lawyers and to our clients, is bringing client service and sharper focus. So that's really the main reason which has led to our growth. And I think the other attribute which really derives from that philosophy is that it's a partner-led client service model, where as a partner, each partner of the firm would be completely involved in any client work, unlike what we hear anecdotally for the market or from our clients who move from other firms, that it's difficult to get hold of a partner because the firms have grown to such large sizes, and I think there's pressure to, I think, get more and more work and keep the large teams busy with work, and that means that partners are inaccessible to the clients.
Well, let's take a look at the larger legal landscape. We're witnessing a lot of consolidation. It's what firms are doing sheerly to remain competitive. And in this context, there's been a lot of innovation in partnership structure. So give me the lay of the land of the partnership structure here at Phoenix Legal.
We like to keep things simple. Like we do our work, I think we try and simplify the legalese for our client, try and give them advice that makes sense to the client. Likewise, it is for us, it's very simple. It's a very entrepreneurial model. And as I said, it's a very client service model. I think the client service really is the center of whatever that we do. And therefore, anybody who would take as client, it's not, okay, somebody who could be a rainmaker is certainly more welcome, but we would prefer between somebody who is a rainmaker and somebody who is a great lawyer, technically sound lawyer who spends time on client work, who is willing to do the minimum number of required billable hours of the client. Between the two, we will prefer somebody as a partner who fits the latter category. And therefore, I think whoever we make as partners has to meet these criteria.
So, if I understand you correctly, there's no sole managing partner, and yet the management responsibilities are sort of jointly shouldered by the founding partners. Is that correct?
That's right. I think, and perhaps that's happened because we're just 8 years old, and also because we started off with 4 founding partners, and therefore we really didn't want to constrain the growth of the firm by layering it with too much of institutional structure. That is one, and the other aspect is that I think we wanted to keep an entrepreneurial setup in place. So I would say the responsibility for management is not just on the founding partners. It's really on every lawyer in the firm, and that's what we tell every lawyer, that look, don't just view yourself to be a lawyer. It's not that you will be a lawyer for X number of years and then you become partner and then you acquire the skills that are required of a partner, be it managing the client, be it administering the firm, be it any other aspect that a partner is expected to do. So start seeing yourself as a partner from day one.
So that said, I wanted your view on some macro developments. There's been a lot of newly introduced economic reform put in place to help boost growth, essentially. Your thoughts on how promising these reforms are and what impact they'll have on the legal fraternity at large?
So I think certainly there have been significant amount of reforming that has taken place over the last 2 years of the current government, 2.5 years of the current government. And as you said, I think they've really remained confined at the macro level. And of course, it's really in sync with the government's objective to make India an easy place to do business, to cut red tape, to make it more transparent, etc., etc. However, and of course, that will lead to increase in work because now we are living in a global village. India really is not an isolated part of, isolated or cut off from the rest of the world.
Sure.
And the movement of capital and labor has happened on a global level. And I think capital moves wherever it finds itself to be more attractive. And in that sense, given these reforms and given what's happening in the rest of the world, certainly it's going to lead to more economic activity and certainly more work for the lawyers.
And to close, any parting message for aspiring lawyers considering pursuing a career in this field?
I see in some quarters the decision to be a lawyer being made for the wrong criteria. It's just that it will give you a very comfortable salary, it will help sustain a very comfortable lifestyle. I guess, of course, as to a youngster, those are important factors. But I think they should be very clear if they're getting into a profession of law, that it will be long years of hard work. It will be a job that will amount a lot of responsibility. It's difficult to achieve a work-life balance. You have to enjoy your work to be able to achieve that balance.
Sir, thank you for your time and your insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of The Law Street, presented by Legal League Consulting, management consultants to the global legal industry, in association with ET Now. Goodbye for now. We'll see you next time.